Hello, Steve Mills here. Welcome to my podcast. If you're a returning listener, then thank you for doing so and being so. If you're new, then I really believe you've made a wise decision spending just a few minutes listening to me on my podcast and hopefully learning some ideas and ways in which you can grow your business. The podcast is called Results because ultimately that's what business is all about. It's about getting results, not bad results, not average results. So if you look at most businesses, they don't get very good results. This is about creating outstanding results that stand out from your competition or that are better than others. Because if you want to be successful, believe me, you've got to stand out. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is standing out in terms of your pricing, where you're priced. Are you the same sort of price as everybody else? And what actually determines price? How do you know how much you should be charging? I don't know about you, but in my experience, the price I pay for something can vary enormously. I met a guy a little while ago, runs a company called Miracle Detail. And what he does for a living is he washes cars, he cleans cars. In fact, he actually calls it detailing. He spends his time literally traveling around the world, cleaning cars for the rich and famous. And he takes a full week to clean a car, and he charges £5,000. £5,000 to clean a car. So I now know that I can get my car cleaned for anything from probably about £2.50 by sticking it in one of those machines at a petrol station that automatically do it. And my contact who charges £5,000 for a car. Now, if you looked at that from a point of view of, other things that we buy, you take computers, for example, assuming we're buying a new one, I can probably get one from anything from about £150, something like that. Probably up to, the top iMac, 28-inch, which I think is about £2,200. So again, the pricing is absolutely enormous. Now, I mention that because, I don't know whether you noticed on the cover of this particular edition of my podcast, I've got my boy, my bulldog. He's there with me. And bulldogs are very expensive dogs. You can buy a bulldog, probably the cheapest dog you get as a puppy would be around about 14 to perhaps £15,000. And you're probably thinking, what, 15 grand for a dog? Wow, that's a lot of money. And you're right, it is. And would everybody pay that? No. But people who want bulldogs and want, a particular type, it's actually a colour of bulldog known as a tricolour, interestingly. So these dogs are black, brown and white, and they're normally more expensive, or occasionally like a silver colour as well, I've seen as being very expensive. But, our boy Bentley is, let's just say he was a normal price, around about £2,500, which is still, a phenomenal amount of money. So why do people buy bulldogs, or why do they buy anything that's, let's say towards the top of the price spectrum? Well, for me, it's not about, owning a bulldog. It's about, loving a bulldog, and that's great. And, if that was a car, why would anybody buy an Aston Martin when they can buy a Ford something for, a lot less money? And it's all to do with, I believe, perception. It's about perception of price. So my question for you is, what's the perception of your price? Are you at a boot fair? Are you, a Marks and Spencer's, or are you Harrods? For me, I think there's an argument to be in all those positions, although I'm less favourable in being cheap and cheerful. Although, the cheapest service that I offer, which is our Results Club, is £30 a month, so you could say, well, that's next to nothing, Steve. And you'd be right. And the idea is to provide a service that anybody could provide, albeit delivered via video. My next step up is my Results Accelerator program. And, that's about making sure that, it's available to anybody. And that starts at £99 a month. So pretty much any business can afford that. It's just whether they see the value in it. And, sometimes the perception of it, would you like a video program for £99? If you were a big corporate, the answer is probably not. You're thinking, perhaps you're thinking, this is, may or may not be that good, because it's so cheap, and we normally spend, several £1,000s training our people, not £99. But for, it's all about the target market. For small businesses, then, that's probably at the right level. And so, all I'm saying to you, I think here is, have a look at your pricing. Where is it? Where is your pricing, and where does it compare to your competition? For me, I mentioned that word outstanding, meaning standing out. So you want to stand out. You might stand out in terms of how expensive you are. You might stand out in terms of how cheap you are. You might stand out in terms of the different product that you offer, or the fact that you've branded several products together and packaged them for an agreed fee. Or perhaps you stand out because you've broken the price down into monthly payments. If you're buying something and that's a reasonable, let's say you were buying, a TV, and, the new TV's £1,000, and you're going to have a look in several shops, and you're thinking, wow, £1,000, that's a lot of money. Not sure I can afford that, but you really want the TV. And then you walk in the next shop, and then they say, look, this is actually £1,100, but we have a payment scheme where you can pay over 6 months. All of a sudden, even though it's even more expensive, that becomes a much more easy sale, because you're not having to stump up the £1,000. So, there's all I'm saying really is there's various ways of doing this, and you might want to think about it. The final thing I wanted to say on this particular version of the podcast is this: what would happen if you put your prices up? If you literally, not suggesting you go to all your customers tomorrow and say, right, okay, we're putting our prices up by 20%. Not suggesting that. But if you got a new customers and said, right, okay, from today forward, any new customers, we're going to put our prices up by 1%. Would anybody not buy? Well, I don't think so. I really don't. When you walk into a pub and you say, could I have a pint of Stella Artois, please, which it tends to be one of the more expensive beers, do you even know how much it is? And yet so many people think about prices, particularly people who are selling things think that the price is everything. So perhaps you want to put your prices up by 1%. Or what about 2%? 3%? Could you even put your prices up 5%? You probably could. Could you manage 10? Oh, you think, well, I'm not sure I could go 10. Perhaps 8, Steve. And this is one of the most simple, easiest ways of increasing your profit in your business. Just put your prices up. See what happens. Test price to get a better understanding. I remember when I first started out in marketing, the vast majority of my business was running one-day training courses. I'd charge around about £100, and I'd get between 10 and 15 people on the workshop. And I thought to myself, what could I do to increase that? And, getting more people would be great, but, it was tough to do and quite expensive. Back in the day, I was sending out direct mail letters to people with a brochure in there and so on and so forth. So there was a cost to that. And so what I did is I actually I suppose I took massive action. I increased the price from £100 to £299. A 200% increase. And instead of calling it a workshop, I called it a masterclass. I made it a little bit different, and I gave a few extra things like, workbooks and so on and so forth, and offered ongoing support. But basically, I got the next seminar, I got 24 people. So 24 people times £300 compared with 10 to 15 people times £100. So, it was a bit of a no-brainer. Since then, I've tried different prices in different markets. And right now, to be honest, my prices are down around the sort of £130, £140 mark, because, selling seminars is a little bit more difficult because everybody's learning on YouTube and podcasts and online training. The online training market now is £350 million per day. So if you're an expert in anything, like, you're a consultant, a trainer, advisor, a coach, a mentor, anything like that, then, you might be thinking about turning that expertise into online income, because that's a great opportunity. That's what I'm doing basically with my results program, isn't it? I'm taking my 25 years of experience and turning it into an online program. So if you want to know more about that results program, by the way, just go to www.stevemills.co. You'll find all about it there, and you might want to gain access. If you want to take the next step with me and perhaps attend a webinar so we can have a conversation live, then again go to stevemills.co and sign up for the webinar. So that's it for now. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I look forward to sharing with you some more tried, tested and proven ways in which you can grow your business on my next podcast. Thank you very much.